The first time I was truly shaken by God's wonder was in 2014, on the first anniversary of my baptism, standing in Utah's Arches National Park. The red rock desert stretched to the horizon. I climbed a giant rock, and in that wide silence, one thought filled my heart. God is so great, and I am so small. The words of Psalm 8, verses 3 to 4 came to mind. When I look at your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars, which you have set in place, what is man that you are mindful of him, and the Son of Man that you care for him? That land was once an ocean and salt flats. Over ages, it was shaped into the arches we see today. Looking out, I felt I was seeing not just scenery, but time and order written on the earth. That day became a lens. The God who writes order in creation also writes order in our lives over time. I have always loved traveling. On the way from the 800-year-old town of Lijiang to Shangri-La, known as the earthly paradise, I joined one of the most classic hikes, Tiger Leaping Gorge. It was a 2-day trek, most of which was above 10,000 feet. Snowy mountains rose on both sides, and the river thundered below. I looked up and saw a sky I had never seen, so clear, so pure, deep blue, with white clouds floating gently. At that moment, I felt a voice whisper, "One day, you will live under a sky like this." At the time, I had no plan to come to the US, and I didn't understand what it meant. But years later, living in Boston, I looked up and saw the same kind of sky. I realized God had already prepared it. As Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1 says, "For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven." Many things I did not understand in the moment, but later I saw God's hand arranging everything. Before I knew the Lord, I attended boarding school from 7th grade. My parents gave me freedom, even to make big decisions. I learned independence early, but I also learned what loneliness feels like. I filled every break with people and plans, afraid of the quiet. When the noise faded, emptiness stayed. After I met the Lord, I learned real security is not about who surrounds me. It is about His presence. As 2 Corinthians 12 verse 9 says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." I often think of footprints in the sand. In the hardest miles, the two sets of prints become one, because He carried me. The strength I once showed was only surface independence. Real strength is knowing He holds me in weakness. As Proverbs 16 verse 9 says, "The heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps."
Before I share a few moments, let me be clear. I'm not offering a formula, and this isn't a prosperity message. Prayer isn't, "I ask and I get every time." Prayer is where God reshapes my desires and leads me in His timing. Sometimes He opens doors and sometimes He closes them, but He's good in both. What follows is how His wonder and grace met me at pivotal moments in my life.
After graduation, I was lost about where to live and work. In prayer, I sensed a clear leading to move back to Boston. A classmate I hadn't spoken to in years offered me a place to stay, and the very night I arrived, I heard about an opening at City. 4 interviews later, I got the job. A few years later, I needed to change jobs. At the post office, I bumped into a former coworker I hadn't seen in years. She mentioned an opening at JP Morgan, and my former manager, who had connections there, advocated for me. After 2 interviews, I started the new role. God also refined and shaped my talent. By His grace, Parsons School of Design accepted me, and I moved to New York to study fashion design, worked at New York Fashion Week, and served in a leadership role with a global association. It was far more than I asked. During the pandemic, I launched a startup. As a solo founder with no product yet, fundraising felt impossible. But God made the impossible possible. After a single conversation with a single investor, the funding came through. This year, I hit a bottleneck in my business. When I was confused, God provided the opportunity to study at Harvard, an unexpected and joyful path He had prepared for me. Not a coincidence, but God's provision. When disappointment or doubt comes, I count the clear graces He has already given me. As Psalm 9 verse 1 says, I will give thanks to the Lord with my whole heart. I will recount all of your wonderful deeds. I saw God's wonder in the desert, indeed, writing grace into my timeline.